So we're talking about a little bit of how to view things in our life, especially that it comes now to doing so much, the time of Rosh Chodesh. Now it's Rosh Chodesh. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh. At the time of Rosh Chodesh, Nisan gets us the to an active work. All the time we are working and doing, and we are cleaning and buying and preparing and cooking. So much things to prepare and do. And we really take many times credit for ourselves, and which is true. We should take credit and we should feel good about it. But just to give a perspective of how the Torah looks at things, it's very interesting. In the end, we just finished Parashat Pikudei, just last week, and we're starting now Vayikra. Parashat Pikudei, all the way in the end, it says over here, ויביאו את המשכן, they brought the משכן to משה, והביאו את המשכן אל משה, את האוהל ואת כל כליו, כרסיו, קרשיו, בריחיו, ועמודיו, ואדניו. They brought all the משכן with all the different tools to Moshe Rabbeinu to put it up. Why is that? Rashi says, שלא היו יכולים להקימו, they didn't know how to put it up. They needed Moshe Rabbeinu to actually structure it and put it up. Why Moshe Rabbeinu? It was not Moshe that did all the work in the Mishkan. It was Betzalel and others, Kol Chachmei Lev. Where Moshe comes into the picture over here, says the Rashi, לפי שלא עשה משה שום מלאכה במשכן, הניח לו הקדוש ברוך הוא הקמתו. Since Moshe was not involved in building of the Mishkan, so therefore Kadosh Baruch Hu said, you know what, I'll leave Moshe Rabbeinu that he should put up the Mishkan. Why they couldn't put it up? שלא היה יכול להקימו שום אדם. Why nobody else was able to put it up? Nobody was able to lift the Mishkan. These were heavy pieces of wood. It's giant woods. You can't lift it up in the whole Mishkan. How could you lift it up? It's impossible. שלא היה יכול להקימו שום אדם מחמת כובד הקרשים, שאין כוח באדם לזוקפן. There's no strength for a person to put it up. ומשה העמידו, therefore Moshe put it up. אמר משה לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא, Moshe Rabbeinu, before he puts it up, before he structures the Mishkan and lifts it, he said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, איך אפשר הקמתו על ידי אדם? How could a person put such a thing up? Imagine a whole structure of large pieces of wood. How could a human being pick this up? The strongest person in the world can't pick it up. אמר לו, הקדוש ברוך הוא answered him and told him, עסוק אתה בידיך, נראה כמקימו, והוא נזקף וקם אליו. You make believe, like you pick it up, and it's going to come up by itself. It's going to be lifted by itself. You just have to make believe. זהו שאמר, הוקם המשכן, הוקם מאליו. That's why it says over here that the Mishkan was lifted. Not that Moshe Rabbeinu actually lifted. It was lifted by itself. So I asked a simple question. I don't understand. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do any work up to now in the Mishkan. That's what Rashi told us. So Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give him the zechut, to merit him with a mitzvah. What's the mitzvah? Lift the Mishkan. You didn't do anything, so you feel left out. Let me give you something to do. You lift the Mishkan. So Moshe Rabbeinu looks at the Mishkan, he says, but that's impossible. How could a human being lift it? So he says, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, you make believe. You don't lift it really. You just make believe. So how does that gain Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu felt bad, he didn't do anything up to now. So now he's going to make believe that's a remedy for the problem? How does that solve the problems? If you give him really something to do, good. But if he has to make believe, what is this? Toy, it's kids' games. He doesn't do it. So you didn't actually fix the problem. The problem was Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do anything up to now. So now, how are you fixing the problem? Make believe. Good question? Yeah? Understood? What's the answer? Anybody has an answer? Something like that. The answer is very simple. It's simple, but it's extremely not simple. What is the answer? The Chovot HaLevavot explains that in every act that a person makes, everything you do, there's three parts. One part is a decision I want to make. In other words, I want to lift something up. I'm going to lift it up. I want to make that. That's the first thing to do. Secondly, I come to do it. I actually, not only the decision, I actually make an act to start doing it. But the result of lifting whatever I want, or whatever act it is, I want to bake a cake. I decided I want to bake a cake. I buy all the ingredients. I come to do it. So this decision is mine. The actual coming to do it, which means not only a decision in the mind, but also coming to act on it, is also mine. But would the cake come out or not, that's already HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, not me. Even the act that putting all the things together and putting it in the oven, it's not HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It looks like mine, it's not me. Anything in the world is like that. I want to drive a car. I want to go to the supermarket. I made that decision. I go outside. I want to turn on the car. Everything is mine up to the actual act. Thank you. Actual act that I'm gonna turn on the car and drive. And that's what happens over here. Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't play with Moshe Rabbeinu. He didn't cheat him, so to speak. He didn't make believe. The whole world is make believe. That's the message over here. Everybody else, Betzalel and all the Chachmei Lev and everybody that did what they did was exactly the same. They didn't actually build the Mishkan. They didn't do anything. Their part was to make believe like they building the Mishkan, like they doing all the things that they're doing. But in reality, they didn't do anything. And that is a message, powerful message over here. What's the powerful message? Powerful message is, although a person should feel good about what he's doing, that he's accomplishing, but in the end of the day, a person needs to know whether it worked out or it didn't work out. It's not me, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Many times we feel, if you know this idea, it helps out in many different things. Like for example, you wanted to do something and it failed. It didn't work. You know, how many times we try to do something and it failed? We work so hard with kids, for instance. We raise our kids. We want them to be a certain way. And we put so much work and effort. That's one of the things that breaks so much parents, because you put so much effort into your kids. And it's day in and day out. It's 24/7 job. It doesn't end. It doesn't end. My wife doesn't sleep at night. She doesn't sleep at night. She constantly, this kid wakes up and that kid wakes up. It's mamash, it's around the clock, 24/7 work. Huh? I sleep. But in the end of the day, you hope and pray that the results will be the way we wish them to be. But you see, there's bumps. Things don't go as we would. If we had to write it out the way we want, it would be very different from the way things are going right now, right? But unfortunately, that's the way it is. Why? Because it's not us. We're doing our best. We're doing our best. We're doing our best. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu that in the end of the day is the one that's putting it together. If it's a failure, if it's bumpy, if it's good, it's not us, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the message over here. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, anyway you're not doing anything. And everybody else made believe. It's not you. Everybody made believe. So if everybody made believe, so therefore you make believe also. That's what it is. Okay? Next. We had double parasha last week. Another thing from the end of last week's parasha is what it says over here, B'mar'ot hatzov'ot, which means the women brought to the Mishkan, Vayaset hakior nechoshet v'karno nechoshet b'mar'ot hatzov'ot asher tzav'u petach ohel moed. The women brought to the Mishkan the mirrors. That's what this pasuk comes to say. And with that, they build the kior nechoshet. Says Rashi, powerful Rashi. Listen to this Rashi. בנות ישראל היו בידן מראות שרואות את עצמן כשהן מתקשטות. The ladies had the mirrors that they used to stand in front of the mirror and beautify themselves. ואף אותן לא עקבו מלהביא לנתבת המשכן. They also brought it to the משכן. והיה משה מואס בהן מפני שעשויים ליצר הרע. The mirror is made for יצר הרע. Felt. Moshe Rabbeinu felt it's not correct to bring mirrors that made for the יצר הרע, so a woman should look beautiful, and that causes Yetzer Hara, and bring that very mirror to the holiest of the holiest, to the Beit HaMikdash, to be in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It doesn't fit. That's not the place that it belongs. That's Moshe Rabbeinu feeling. Aya mo'es bahem. He was feeling disgusted with such a thing, Rashi says. אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא says, no, you're wrong. קבל, accept it. But look at these powerful words. כי אלו חביבים עליי מן הכל. Those are the most likable thing more than anything else in my eyes. Moshe Rabbeinu feels it's disgusting. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, this is the most beautiful thing. On the contrary. Why? שעל ידיהם העמידו אנשים צבאות רבות במצרים. Because with those mirrors, they were able to motivate their husbands and bring out the next generation. כשהיו בעליהם יגעים בעבודת פרך, היו הולכות ומלוכות להם מאכל ומשקה, ומאכילות אותם. And they would bring food when Am Yisrael, when Bnei Israel were enslaved in Mitzrayim, they would bring their husbands every day food and feed them and beautify themselves with those marot. So those are the most beautiful things HaKadosh Baruch Hu says in my eyes. Beautiful thing over here. So therefore, you should bring that and build with that the marot hatovot, you build the kior. Now, this is something that I spoke in the past. It's very important to understand that the way the Jewish religion is built, the theme of the Jewish religion. If you take a look in other religions, the big three religions are Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. In Christianity, things are very different than Islam and Judaism. In Christianity, they hold that everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. In Islam, they hold and they understand that everything is physical. And therefore, for example, in Islam, the reward in the next world for a person that's doing the right thing, he goes on the jihad and he becomes a jihad and he becomes a martyr and he kills himself, which is the biggest mitzvah in Islam, to kill yourself while killing others. That's called the shaheed, and going on such a mission is a jihad, and you have a lot of different jihads. You have jihads that a person that kills himself, then you have jihad that of educational jihad, which means people that teach the Islam. Islam is built on spreading their religion throughout the world. But what is the ultimate reward for a person that does the right thing in Islam? He gets physical reward. They have in the Quran and in their books, it's written in details what is their reward, and everything is physical. It's so physical that they get over there te'avot. They get all kind of lusts, all kind of disgusting things that in this world, if a person would want to get those things, you would look at it, you would look down on it. And over there, that's their reward. That is the highest thing, which means, according to them, their religion is physical from the beginning until the end. Everything is about the physic. In Christianity, on the other hand, everything is spiritual. A person dies and he doesn't. The Islam holds that when a person becomes a shaheed, he goes with his body physically. That's the way he goes to the higher worlds, and he lives over there physical life with a lot of physical pleasures. But as soon as he becomes shaheed, on the first drop of blood that he gets, he goes the way he is to the next world, which means with the body, with the physical body. On Christianity, obviously, it doesn't work like that. Everything is spiritual. Although their God is physical, right? They believe in Yoshke, which is physical, which is a man. But they go to the next world. Everything is spiritual. And they believe in a lot of spiritual ideas over here. In Judaism, none of that works. Not this and not that. Judaism works very, very differently. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that since he created the world in a physical manner. He wants us to enjoy the world, to benefit from the world. But we need to understand how to do it. Benefit from the world doesn't mean that I take physical and transform it to become physical, which means I can't take food, the yummy food, enjoyable food, and eat it just to enjoy the food, but rather the purpose of the creation of the world is to take the physical and make it into a spiritual. That's a great idea, which means like this. When I, for instance, eat, I have to know that I'm eating in order to be able to learn better, in order that to do Avodat Hashem better, to pray better, to have strength to send my kids to yeshivot, to take it and to use it for spiritual manners, which means everything I do in this physical world, I should do it in a physical way, but in order to transform the physical to spiritual. That idea is the theme, by the way, of Shabbat. What is Shabbat all about? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, look, 6 days you don't have to use anything in the world. You could. But there's no mitzvah to benefit and to enjoy the world. You don't have to eat good food on weekdays. So it's a whole discussion how much a person is allowed to enjoy the world on a weekday. But on Shabbat, comes Shabbat, and all of the time you have the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbat. You have to enjoy Shabbat. You have to benefit from Shabbat. You have to feel the pleasure of Shabbat. There's a mitzvah to have pleasure on Shabbat. Imagine you have pleasure. You can enjoy the Shabbat in a pleasurable. What's pleasure? Pleasurable means physical pleasure. You eat good. You sleep good. You do physical pleasurable things on Shabbat. What's the purpose of that? The Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I created the world in 6 days. And those 6 days were physical 6 days, which means I want you to benefit from the world. How do you actually, where do we see it? Where do you emphasize it? On Shabbat. On Shabbat, take that world that I created and I want you to actually bring it and lift it spiritually. And therefore, this is what happens in the discussion between Moshe Rabbeinu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe Rabbeinu sees the physical mirrors that made for Yetzer Hara. היה מואס בהם. It's disgusting. What is this? It's disgusting. It's for the wrong reasons. I understand when a woman brings food to her husband. That I understand. Take the plate to the Beit HaMikdash. I understand if she brings Sfarim to her husband that he should pray, he should learn. Bring the mirror. The mirror was there in order to make her look good in front of her husband. היה מואס בהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא said, no. Kabel כי אלו חביבים עליי מן הכל. This is the most likable thing. Why? Because these women took the physical and they made it לשם שמיים. They created out of the physical, spiritual, העמידו צבאות הרבה במצרים. With those mirrors, they were able to put up a new generation and everything was done לשם שמיים. This is ideas from the last 2 parshiot that we just read a couple of days ago on Shabbat. When we get to our parashat Vayikra, we'll learn something very interesting. Rashi says over here that Vayikra el Moshe, Vayidaber elav Me'oel Moshe lemor. HaKadosh Baruch Hu called up Moshe. Vayikra el Moshe. Rashi says, when did he call Moshe Rabbeinu and why did he call? Whenever HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to speak to Moshe Rabbeinu, he would first call Moshe Rabbeinu. He wouldn't just surprise him and start talking to him. He would prepare him. Moshe. Moshe says, yes. Okay, I want to speak to you soon. Are you ready? And Moshe Rabbeinu says, okay, I'll get ready. He goes, he dresses up. He gets ready. Vayikra el Moshe. It's not like a surprise. Not like by other Umot HaOlam, by Bilam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu just showed up. And many times, you're not prepared. You could show up when you're not ready, when you're not prepared. Moshe Rabbeinu, he wanted to give him that preparation. It teaches us a lot of Derech Eretz. But Rashi says over here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu only called upon Moshe when he actually wanted to speak to him. But between the times that he spoke to him, he let him be. Take a break. Which means HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to him, he gave him a message, and now he gave him break. He'll speak to you again in a couple of days. That's it. Those 2 days, Moshe Rabbeinu is on vacation. Doesn't do anything. Rashi says over here a message that we need to understand. But first, I want to tell you what we learned in Parashat Beshalach. In Parashat Beshalach, it says that וילכו העם 3 ימים במדבר ויצמאו למים. When the people of Am Yisrael, when the nation went on the desert, they went 3 days in the desert and they were thirsty for water. There was no water. And mayim, no water. So therefore, After 3 days, they came to Moshe Rabbeinu. They complained, we need water. So it's a valid request. They don't have water. You can't live without water. Chazal tell us, no, don't think he didn't have water. En mayim ela Torah. Water means over here, refers over here to Torah. They didn't learn Torah for 3 days. And therefore, עמדו נביאים שבאותו הדור, it's Gemara in מגילה, עמדו הנביאים באותו הדור ותקנו להם שיהיו קוראים בתורה כל 3 ימים, which means you read in the Torah on Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat. You shouldn't have 3 days without learning Torah. Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat, you read in the Torah. That was the establishment of the Nevi'im, of the prophets in that generation. That generation was Moshe Rabbeinu. He was the prophet. Then later on, Ezra was metaken also 3 aliyot on each time. But whatever it is, I ask a question, very simple question. Aren't we obligated to learn Torah 7 days a week? 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, whatever, 18 hours a day, whatever it is, we're obligated to learn Torah. If you can't learn Torah 18 hours, so you go to work because you need to bring parnasah to the house and make yourself a shiur, but you're obligated to learn Torah every single day. V'agita bo yomam v'layla. The Torah says that a person is not allowed to be mevatel Torah, and the Sforim speak about this very harshly, a person that just mevatel Torah. So what happened to them on the other days? Sunday, there was no Kriyat Torah, they didn't learn Torah. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, there was no Torah. So very nice, you gave them Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat, but what do you do in between? But what do you do in between? It's Bitul Torah. What do you do in between? How is that going to help the problem? What's the answer? The answer is what we're learning over here. We're saying over here that Moshe Rabbeinu got breaks. HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu on that time, and that time in between he gave them breaks. What does he do in those breaks? Says Rashi that the breaks were for a purpose. Those Efsekim were for a reason, and it had to be utilized. What is the reason? Rashi says over here that the reason was in order שיוכל להתבונן בהם. That is the lashon of Rashi. The purpose of those hafsakot, מה היו הפסקות משמשות? What was the purpose of the breaks in between, the hafsakot? ליתן רווח למשה להתבונן בין פרשה לפרשה ובין עניין לעניין. In order that Moshe Rabbeinu should look into what he learned. ליתן רווח למשה להתבונן, look into it, internalize it, learn it, analyze it, take it to your heart, take it to your mind, make it yours. Make us, they say in yeshivot, they say make a kinyan, acquire it, be koneh, like you buy it, it becomes yours. When you come to just hear something even from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you hear it in your ears, it didn't yet penetrate to become internalized. Says Rashi, ליתן רווח למשה להתבונן בין פרשה לפרשה ובין עניין לעניין, קל וחומר לאדיוט הלומד מן האדיוט. Even more so, קל וחומר, a regular person that learns from a regular person. What does it mean? It means like this. When Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest of the greatest of the greatest, came to learn from who? From HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's greater than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the infinite. So the biggest Talmid in the world, the smartest and the biggest prophet in the world, that goes to learn from who's the teacher, who's the Rebbe, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So those, I would think, such a combination, you don't need the breaks in between. It should just go in immediately and becomes whatever it is. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, you have to take a break and you have to internalize it. Says Rashi, Kal Vachomer, even more so, regular people. A regular person that learns from a regular rabbi should need time in between, a break in between to internalize it. And that is a very big message, because we come back to what they did in the desert. What did they do between Monday and Thursday and Shabbat? In those days, you have to internalize what you learned. You learned something on Monday. You learned the Parshot of the Torah. You learned some new halachot. You learned some new things. It's not enough. It's not like a college. You just sit in and hear the professor talking, and then you finish one class, you go to the next class, and you go to the third class, and you go to the fourth class, and you just around the clock like this every single day. No. When you go to yeshiva, you learn something. It's not daf yomi. Daf yomi, you just keep on learning. You're just learning information. That's called chokhmah. There's 3 levels. Chokhmah, bina, v'da'at. We learned that from Betzalel, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him all those. Chokhmah means the wisdom, which means information. You get information, daf yomi, or whatever it is. You keep on getting information, and you're filling yourself up with information. But bina means chokhmah bina. Bina is lavin davar mitoch davar. You have to understand what you just learned. You have to draw out from what you learned different ideas. You come up with different thoughts. That is bina. That is even deeper than that. Rashi says it's already something that has to do with Ruach HaKodesh. It's even a higher level. But whatever it is, this is the purpose of the Hafsakot. Now, why is this important? Because now, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, many yeshivot go to a break. That's it. They go to help their wives, their parents, the kololim. Many of them get breaks now on Rosh Chodesh. That's it. They go out. What's the mindset should be at this time of such a break? The mindset should be such that, yes, I'm helping, but on the same time, not to let go of what I learned throughout the year and keep on thinking about it, because this is the time to actually internalize it. This is the time to actually understand and bring it and become part of me. That is a very, very important thing. At that time, it's a revach, liten revach leMoshe, ben parasha leparasha, uven inyan leInyan. Moshe Rabbeinu needed it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, definitely you'll need it. Questions? No questions? Let's do